Whiskey friends, far and wide, we're live. It is Thursday. I'm Eric, your humble mom user. We got a little bit of a impromptu live stream. Figured I would come on today because, as the description provided you, a whiskey is going to be uncorked and tasted. Ooh, Ardbeg Traigh Bhan. This is the batch 4. Looks like it was bottled, or it was distilled, I should say, back in 2003. So this one just came around, and we're going to open it, we're going to drink it, we're going to taste it, we're going to talk about Ardbeg. We're going to talk about Traigh Bhan's 19 years old whiskey. We'll probably give it a review score. Preliminarily, as you may have saw earlier this week, I already released my top 5 whiskeys for 2022, which means I'm not doing any more formal reviews this year. But that doesn't prevent me from coming on live and uncorking a bottle and sharing my initial thoughts. So excited to get into this. And in fact, what I'm going to do right now is open it. And we'll get it in the glass. I'll let it get a little bit of a breather. And then we will get to it in about 15 minutes or so. I want to give folks an opportunity to hop on if they want to join. We got 3 in already. I'll say hi in just a sec. There we go. Ardbeg Traigh Bhan. It is in the glass. It smells fantastic. We'll let that sit for a little bit. In the meantime, I am sipping what has slowly been turning into a really, really good malt. And that is a 19-year-old from Alexander Murray Independent Bottlers of Linkwood cask strength 53%. Linkwood, one of those distilleries, I mean, it's pretty difficult to point to a lot of bottles of Linkwood that many people have had. It's not a distillery that folks run into all that often. I'm not even so sure that they have actual distillery releases, but they do have independent bottlings. The majority of Linkwood is used in blends. But I will tell you, this did not do a whole lot for me when I first opened it. But like a lot of whiskeys, that's 53.8%. Get that right. You know, as it goes down, as it sits for a while, as the oxygen fills up that bottle, starts breaking down that whiskey a little bit, opening it up, this has really turned into a nice, medium-bodied, fruit-forward, with a little bit of zest and a long finish. It's just turned into a really nice dram. And I find myself reaching for this a bit lately. You know, so who knows? This might warrant a review of its own. A little bit into next year. We'll see if it lasts that long. It is a cask strength whiskey. So, you know, I'm not exactly having tons of drams of it, if I can help it. And Alexander Murray is one of these independent bottlers, I think, that gets a little bit hit and miss. I have a couple others of theirs, including a 12-year-old Laphroaig cask strength and I think something else. Back in my Philadelphia days, Total Wine, which was right across the river in Jersey, tended to have a lot of Alexander Murray stuff on their shelves. And quite frankly, they were one of the few people that I think, or stores I think, that I ever really saw them at in large quantities. So, you know, I don't know if they got a thing with them or not, but as it stands, this is a really nice dram. As I said, it's kind of fruity. It does have a little bit of a malt character to it. The mouthfeel has turned really nice. I mean, it's 19 years old. It's got some zest to it, bourbon cask, yellow fruits. I think a lot about like golden apples with this ginger cinnamon. It's just a really solid bourbon cask. Pretty inoffensive, not super challenging, but I think I paid less than 100 for this for a 19-year-old cask strength, and I'll tell you, it was definitely worth it. Butterscotch, a little bit of roasted nothing. It's just good. I don't recall the actual offhand the distill or the blender that uses a lot of Linkwood in it. I'm pretty sure Compass Box, gets in with the Linkwood, but I think there's another. It might be Chivas Regal. I'm sure one of y'all multi-mom girls out there would have the answer to this question. But it's a good bottle. It's a good price, and I think I would recommend it. The price is right. Okay, let me say hi to folks who are jumping in on Thirsty Thursday here. First in the door tonight, we got, hey, there he is. I was just chatting with this man on the Instas. It's our boy Daniel H., the man with the wrench, somewhere along the East Texas, Western Louisiana borderlands, doing his thing. What's good, buddy? Jupiter, Florida's in the house. Mr. G. Gerbic, how are you? Glencadam or Ben Romick first tonight, brother? Go with the Cadam. That Ben Romick you got is peated. I think I would go with the Glencadam. That would be the one to do. Hey, what's up, Marilyn? Mike B. Driving in traffic. Glad to listen in. That's good to see you, Mike B. Raising a glass to you out there in the what I'm guessing is the Beltline, DC Beltline traffic. Baltimore, that whole area. Drive safe, buddy. Gary's in the house out in Frisco. What's good, Mr. K? How are you, man? Hey, Michael McDonald, how are you? Cheers. I would have uncorked my 4 with you, but it's too stashed away on short notice. Oh, sorry about that, brother. This was a short notice thing. Mine arrived at my doorstep today, and I was like, shit, I got to open this. I really didn't want to wait on it. So I'll try not to spoil it for you. You might want to tune out. He's a couple of IB Linkwood, says Daniel H. Good stuff. Yeah, there's actually, this finish is still going on this. There's a nice kind of a malted chocolate malted note. It's pretty nice. Maybe kind of like a coffee, a little bit of that. Sadly, have to work from now until 6:30. Hope you all have a nice happy holiday. Hey, you too, Gary. All right. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. They're typically very creamy to me. Says, yeah, this one, I could see that a little bit. 6:30 Pacific. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Gotcha, bud. Yeah, just a little early for you. LA's in the house. James Chang, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you, sir. We're officially at 8 minutes in the glass on the Ardbeg Traigh Bhan Batch 4. I think we'll give it the full 19. Why not? We'll do it Ralphie style. Minute in the glass for a year in the cask and all of that good stuff. Johnny Walker 1516 has a lot of Linkwood in it. There we go. Eric, I have the same 12-year-old Laphroaig from Total Wine and Cherry. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the Total Wine. Anna Glenlassie 14. Yeah. If you still live around that area or travel, there's the store that I really liked. So just for a little bit of background for folks. So in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania generally is a liquor control board state. So all the liquor stores are government stores. They're all called fine wine, good spirits, right? So the thing in Pennsylvania is, they don't, some of them get really good stuff. But you can't always find everything you want. Now, if you do find something you want, the prices are usually great. But you have to go to the right ones. Often is the case that, things can be a bit elusive. So if you live in Philly, you're right across the river from Jersey, and you just kind of jump on over. So the shop that I used to go to a lot over there, Mike, is Benash Liquors, which is just down the street from that Total Wine. Those guys are great. They get really good barrel picks. I can't remember his name now, but their rum, there's a guy there that works there, just knows a ton about rum. They have a really great rum selection, and he does a lot of rum barrel picks. So if you're still out in the neck of the woods and somehow haven't been to Benash yet, definitely go down there. Their prices are pretty good too. A lot of good picks. Pittsburgh's in the house. What up, Rob? How you doing, man? Ralphie style. You mean loving NAS now? Yeah. Yeah. If you caught the was the viewer's choice, people's choice winner was Glen Scotia Victoriana, and so Ralphie's he had a bunch of like things to say about it that were in high praise, and seemed to be pretty happy about it. He mentioned on there that he's kind of relaxing his strident rules around not reviewing NAS whiskeys. Had some reason for it, so I guess that's cool. Yeah, I was in my top 5 for a reason, folks. If you haven't seen that, I did post my top 5 whiskeys of the year already, because it was my last official review video of the year. Should be posted, and I think it came out on Monday. Hey, what's up, Phoenix? How you doing, Leo, out in Phoenix? Holding it down in the Valley of the Sun. Hey, Mark's coming in from Brazil. Great to see you, man. Trying a 1 year Aquavita's Roy V pub. Oh, that's right. He's doing that. I forgot. I mean, to be jumping on his coattails here. Awesome to see you, man, Mark. And I know you said you were moving from New York. Hope things are good down in Brasilia. There's Mike B. I've bought a Linkwood Gordon MacPhail. Excellent stuff. Just a shame it's 43, but yeah, so yeah, definitely. Monmouth County, just a short trip down. I'll be sure to check out Benash. Yeah, Benash is the kind of place you want to support too. You'll go in there now. They have a pretty good Scotch selection. Their prices, I would say, are average, maybe a slight tick higher, but they'll have some dusty stuff on their shelves for sure. They have a really big bourbon selection, and their Scotch is really good. And they do a lot of picks. I would also recommend, Michael, and you can do this online for free, is to join the South Jersey Bourbon Drinkers. You can look for that group on Facebook, free to join, and you get a free membership card you can just put on your phone, and you get 5% off at Benash. Also, Canals in Mount Ephraim, which, by the way, they put stuff out that's really good prices when they have good stuff. I think I got a bunch of old Springbank 15s there for like under $100 a couple years ago. That's another good place to check out. It's luck of the draw when you walk in there, but the South Jersey Bourbon Drinkers group, you can just join it. They're really cool. And they do a bunch of their own barrel picks and stuff too if you want to get active. All right, enough about South Jersey, Southeast Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, all that jazz. We're about 5 minutes out before I'm diving in to the Traigh. Excited to do it, and great to see we got some folks in here, man. It's cool to see folks here on a Thursday. Glencadam is so rich in citrus. Yeah, it's great. That's a great bottle, definitely, and it gets better. I was really impressed, and I have a 15 sitting around, and the first Glencadam that I really tried was the 13 Reawakening. Which was, I think, is still available. It was kind of like their first release when Glencadam started putting stuff out again. That was an awesome one. I think I gave that a really nice review a few years back. Then I picked up the 10 and the 21, both of which I've quite enjoyed and were at good prices. And now there's this 15 that I have that I got to try. Yeah, they're good. I think Ralphie was the one that kind of like sounded the alarm on or rang the bell rather, I should say, about how good they are. So cool to get into Glencadam, and it was cool that they made the top 5 for me this year because it was well deserved. Great priced whiskey, 46% non-chill natural, straight up great everyday drinker. Awesome stuff. We're getting to the end of this Linkwood, which means it's almost time for Ardbeg. Hard time locating Glencadam 10 these days. I don't know what the shipping laws are out there by you, but I'm happy to send you some links to some places that you can probably store it. If you want to just email me, Lee, or I can get you on Patreon. Are you in New Jersey? No. I lived in Philadelphia for 2 years. I'm in Chicago. I was there from 2019 to 2021. And that's why I know a lot about South Jersey liquor stores because, again, if you can't, the Philadelphia and Pennsylvania is all government stores. So I used to go across the river all the time to poke around some of the private shops. And yeah, there were a couple there that I really liked. Benash Liquors being one. Those guys are great. In fact, I still have a couple store picks from them. I would also recommend, if you're in that area, the Philadelphia Whiskey Drinkers Society, one of the best Scotch whiskey club, or just whiskey clubs I've ever been a part of. The guy who runs it, Alex Chang, is just fabulous, man. He's got super great connections. They have tons of good events. Get a discount card for them too. They have a paid membership, I think, but it's worth it. They're awesome. Coates is in the house. What up, man? What's going on in Canada, buddy? How are you, sir? Did I say Canada? No, I meant Kansas. Don't listen to me. Tejas is in the house. What up? KS rather. How are you, man? It's good to see you. Thanks for swinging in. Let's see what else is going on. We're almost about there. Mark says he recently got the Glencadam 13 here, and I'm enjoying. Yeah, that's a good bottle, man. Definitely. And they only put out like a couple thousand of them, but for whatever reason, I still see it around quite a bit. I wonder if they did a couple different releases of it. That would be a fun one to compare to the 10. I unfortunately don't have any more, and I couldn't really do it. But boy, I was really impressed with that, and that's what actually was the catalyst. I found it for like $60 in Jersey. And that prompted me to go deeper in Glencadam. I was like a 13-year-old, 46% non-chill natural for like $60. I was like, shit, yeah, I'll pick this up. Freddie D, what's up, man? No Trevan batch 4 in Canada yet. All right, well, hopefully it'll be coming your way, and hopefully I can give you some insight into what I think about it here and maybe help you figure out if it needs to go on your list or not. Yeah. Well, some of them are okay. It's just like you got to get there at the right days. And I mean, the prices are good, but it's like, you don't get the variety. This was the similar situations. I before I was in Philly, I lived in Washington, D.C. So like I would hop over the border into Virginia, and Virginia's all government stores too. And like if you did it around the right time, like when the Elijah Craig barrel proofs were released, like you'd show up and they just have a ton of them and it's all MSRP. So it was like $55 a bottle, and I buy like 3 of them. Everything that they sell is MSRP. In fact, Mickey Heads from Ardbeg, probably, this was 2018, did an event randomly at one of the Northern Virginia government liquor stores. And of course, left them with like 5 or 6 bottles of the Ardbeg Grooves committee release. So Telex, the whiskey tech, and I were chatting about it. He's like, oh man, I just found out about this store out in, I remember, it might have been Falls Church. I don't remember. And he was like, dude, get out there. I drove all the way over there from where I lived in DC, and sure as shit, they're just sitting there, committee release grooves for MSRP. I was like, that was my first ever Ardbeg committee release. So I was super stoked to get that. So, but I generally agree. It's a ridiculous thing, and it's just corruption at this point. The highlight of college and I was hitting the amazing Windy City. Oh, cheers, man. Yeah, I love Chicago. I can imagine that must have been a lot of fun during college. I grew up in Milwaukee. Came down here a few times, but honestly, didn't spend a lot of time here until my much older. But loving it now. I've been here for about a year and a half. Yeah. I know where you are. Yeah, man. It's good, right? Yes, I have tried batches 1 and 2. Now, I do have a full bottle of 2. Yeah. But I haven't, I had like, I think I had like 4 samples of it. And then I had a couple samples of batch 1. So I've been familiar with them. I did not have the third one. And we'll talk a little bit about why these haven't been must buys for me and maybe for you guys too. Coolio. Yeah, I'll check that out later for sure. Definitely. It's awesome. It's a great whiskey. For sure. Yeah, I'd love some I don't know if the same places are still around, but definitely if you had places you liked, I would love to hear what they are. I've been really impressed with the beer. The beer scene here is absolutely nuts. I think it's more breweries here than any other city now, and it's crazy. And then obviously the food, I mean, Chicago, can't go wrong with that. All right, y'all. You got 12 folks in. Cool to see everybody, man. It is Thursday, and at the top of the show, I uncorked and poured for the first dram here of the Ardbeg Traigh Bhan. This is the 2022 release batch 4. Here's the tail of the tape on this, just to get things started. There's a lot of writing on this. Here's what it says, and I'll try and give you just the top line. So first of all, it's a 19-year-old whiskey. It's the 4th batch they've done. It's matured in American oak and Oloroso sherry casks. So really cool that they tell you that information on here. I wish they did that with all of their whiskeys. It says here in small print, non-chill filtered. Also talks about non-chill filtered on the side. Great. It's bottled at 46.2%. Okay. And it does, it gives you a lot of tasting notes and typical Ardbeg, extravagant stories about the whiskey itself. It does not say anything about natural color. And I think this has been something that has been, definitely noticed by most people who are like Ardbeg or buy Ardbeg. They don't seem to put natural color on their stuff, but everybody seems to be in agreement that it is natural color. And I think that that's the case here as well. If you look at a couple last week, I uncorked the new Hypernova, and didn't say anything about didn't even say unchill filtered on it. With the color clearly, you can tell it was a pale gold straw. If they were putting color in it, they sure did a horrible job making it look dark. So my guess is that it is natural color, and I think that's going to be the case here. So they really get a lot of marks for me on this one. They tell you what it's matured in, which I think is freaking great. I wish more distilleries would do this, and I wish Ardbeg did it on everything. But I can also see the reasons why, the casual consumer might be freaked out by something like that and not know what that means, so they don't buy it. We got non-chill filtered. We got 46.2%. We got an age statement, 19 years. 4 out of 5, right? That's pretty good. Okay, so that's the deal here. I'll save you the story and all the tasting notes that they have on it, as there are a bunch. I will say this. So on here, they have a couple top line notes, and I know that they did this on a bunch of their other ones. Since I've read it, I didn't look at the others, but since I've read it, I might as well share with you. So here's what it says: notes of rich wood smoke, menthol, and aniseed. Okay. Now I know this has been different on the other ones. So since I've already seen it, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't and act like it's whatever. But there are a whole bunch on here, and the second I saw it, I haven't read them. So that's that. Here is what the bottle. It is a classic Ardbeg bottle. It is pronounced Traigh Bhan, the BH, like in Bunnahabhain. It's in Scots Gaelic. It's a V sound. Again, says here non-chill filtered. All the same information. Distilled bottle aged in Scotland. Blah 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 blah. American oak Oloroso. Distillery manager Colin Gordon. Yeah. So it doesn't say anything about more tasting note stuff, which I'm not going to read. From the Singing Sands of Islay is the story behind Traigh Bhan. Just like they have a story behind all of their whiskeys, right? So again, it's the label. It's a nice looking bottle. It's the standard Ardbeg bottle. I like the kind of just classic labeling on this. It's not full of too much. So, all right. So this has been sitting here in the glass for about 23, 24 minutes now. Let's take a look at it. That's the color. Now, again, the cloudiness alone, right? You're getting a little darkness. Obviously, there's Oloroso in here. But that cloudiness, I mean, this is a natural color. It just looks like a natural whiskey to me. Why they don't say anything about that, I don't know. I have smudged up this glass quite a bit. Okay. All right, so here we go. Let's do the nosing here. Ardbeg Traigh Bhan, 2022, batch 4, 19 years old, high-end Ardbeg. Let's check it out. Ooh. So immediately what you notice here, and this isn't going to surprise any of you, that typical punch in the face, Ardbeg, heavy phenolic smoke that you get off a Corey Vrecken or a 10 or whatever. Much more subdued here, as expected. Whiskey's age, by and large, the intensity of the peat breaks down a bit. But it's here, and it's coming in the form of kind of, bitter road tar, a little bit of ash, a little bit of that damp kind of coastal note, whatever that means. It's hard to, I don't know the best words to use, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Campfire on the beach, whatever the hell you want to call it. It's got like the wet wood. It's got all that going. Wet burnt wood. So the peat and the smoke are there. There is a really nice, sweet, kind of confectionery, vanilla, yes. Like a candied, or like orange or rainbow sherbet. You know what I mean? That like, it's like kind of like an ice cream, but it's got that very distinct smell if you've ever had it before. I'm getting a ton of that on here. There's little hints of lemon lime. There's little hints of smoked, maybe smoked fish even. Just slightly. But this is really coming off, again, it's sweet, savory spice. I also got to mention there's like a chocolate mint, a cool mint thing, not like a peppermint, more like a spearmint. It's kind of just wrapped around all this. Wow. So it's a little bit more of a tame whiskey. It's certainly got some complexity to it on the nose, but it's not, I wouldn't say right now on this first pour, any more complex than I would get off a Corey Vrecken or an Ugadal. What's more noticeable, Joe, is that this is just a much more balanced whiskey. Elegant, even, if you want to use that kind of word. There's a lot going on here, and I really am enjoying it. So since we said it said aniseed on, I'm not really getting that. If anything, there's maybe a little bit of like fennel or something. I don't know. Okay, let's give it a taste. Traigh Bhan, batch 4, Sláinte. Ooh, nice. I'll do one more taste before we get into the notes here. There's quite a bit happening. Finish is hanging on for a while. Really long finish. Really long finish. Okay, here we go. Soft, kind of elegant arrival. Almost for that first couple of seconds, it's a very, you're almost like, is this a peated whiskey? Then you get these waves of kind of your citrus, a bit of the oak, chocolate. You know, you're getting the kind of full spectrum Ardbeg flavors here. Then those sweet fruits come in. This is more on the tropical fruit side than the like standard red fruit oloroso. As it develops is really when you get that shot of the smoke, the peatiness, a bit of a dry, slightly tannic note comes in as it gets into the back end. A little coffee, chocolate, really long finish. The ash and smoke is there, you can tell, but it's kind of in the background. It's working in harmony with a lot of these just sweet, bold, yellow fruit, subtle but bold flavors, if that makes sense. There are kind of a bunch of them going on here, and they're all really working. Really long finish. Really enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, the story here is look, this is a more of a refined, well-aged, well-balanced Ardbeg. It doesn't have any gaps, any real edges or gaps in it. I mean, you're not, at no point in this was I kind of expecting more. I think it will open up a bit. Of course, this is just the neck pour of a 19-year-old whiskey, but I'm pretty impressed. Let me do one more sip here, and then we'll probably try some water. Yeah. Also really getting a melon note, cantaloupe. Boy, is that the transition as it goes to the back end of the fillet, the palate is just freaking great. It starts sweet. It starts fruity. It starts kind of medium viscosity, elegant, and then it just slowly builds. But it's never so much that it overtakes this. It's just working with it. And these chocolate notes, sticky chocolate, black coffee, roasted coffee bean, slightly smoked meat fish type thing, a little bit of salinity. Really good stuff. I mean, this is no slouch at all. Let's do a little water, and I want to be careful here. So this is 46.2, you know, but it's an older whiskey, and so therefore a little more delicate. We don't want to overdo it. So I'm just going to put like just 3 drops out of the old Glenmorangie pitcher here. Just see what else happens. Oh, that nose is really, really nice. It smells substantial, but it's not like this extreme whiskey that, you know, the Hypernova was that we were talking about on the live stream last week. This is the opposite side of the spectrum, but the quality level is here. Nice cloudiness, really nice viscosity, integrity bottle, you know, I mean, they're at 46%. Here we go with water. I am getting more now like candied lemon, grapefruit, sugary grapefruit type stuff. Really nice. Fantastic. Same process, elegant, kind of almost delicate at first, and then it just slowly builds as you ride this down to the back end of the palate, and the peat hits the ash and the smoke. You can really breathe it in. It starts taking over the mouth, but it never It never like overcoats the sweet fruit notes coming from this sherry cask, which again are in the more tropical fruit range here, like melon. There's saltiness. There's a little bit of this, like I said, kind of lemon lime, but like candied, like sugary, right? It's not that sharp lemon lime. It's like it's like it has sugar on it. That fennel. Sometimes I struggle with the spices. Like it's hard to differentiate. So like if I really on this, I would say there's kind of, again, this is the best I can do. Slightly fennel. I don't get a lot of this anise thing. I can kind of see what they're talking about, but I feel like I'm reaching for it. Maybe not clove, allspice. That's the one. Bit of that. Or mace, even. Okay, let me take this last sip down, and then let's talk about it. So here's what they said about it. Aromas of herbal pine and fennel. Fennel rise up to flow gently on the breeze, followed by sharp, tangy wisps of citrusy lime sorbet, and medicinal lozenge. A cascade of eucalyptus and saddle soap infiltrates the senses before hazelnut, sweet vanilla, and currant surge forth, leaving a distant hint of rich mint chocolate. So we picked up the mint chocolate too. Intense notes of wood smoke and decadent dark chocolate crash over the palate, followed by a ripple of sweet lemon curd. Okay, we kind of got that in peanut brittle. I didn't get that. The allure of this rare dram continues as currents shift to reveal delicate hints of creamy raisin fudge and hazelnut, delicate wisp of medicinal and spicy notes of rich wood, menthol, aniseed, clove, white pepper. A note that I can never pick up for the life of me. If you ever watch Telex and I lay it live, Telex would be like, oh, there's like a white pepper notes. I cannot ever pick it up in whiskey. I always call it something else. I can never get that precise on it. It's just one of my weaknesses here. Sweet peat collide with creamy vanilla fudge, dark cocoa, and warm woody clove tingle. Okay, so a little bit of that clove. Sharp, intense, satisfying, long finish. Okay, so we did pretty well picking this up. Okay, so we're going to approach this, and first of all, I'm pouring another dram of it because fucking hey, this is good. But we're going to talk about this in two things we got to talk about first. One, how does this stack up against other releases? Now, partially does it matter because you can't really find the other releases, and if you do, you're going to be paying exorbitant amounts of money. That said, for those of you who may be watching that are big, or may watch in the future who are big Ardbeg, maybe you chase Ardbegs. You might want to know. Batch 3, I didn't like Batch 3 that much. Should I buy Batch 4? Batch 1, I remember being a bit more smoky and spicy. And Batch 2, which I liked a little bit more, was not as much that. I found it to be a little bit more fruit forward. I'll tell you right now, I have not had Batch 3, so I can't speak to it. This is kind of, I'm just spitting in the breeze here. This one's as good as those. It's as good as Batch 2 and 1 in terms of its quality. Now, you may not like the profile as much, but I can't see why anybody would be disappointed in this. If you're willing to fork over the money, which is what we're going to talk about next, I can't see why this would really disappoint anybody who likes Ardbeg and knows what an aged, heavily peated whiskey is supposed to be like. Okay? So, is this the best one? I really can't say. Is it good? And is it meeting the expectations that I had? Yeah, and I'm actually really excited to see where this goes. So this is a lot of high praise. Now we got to get to the other part. The other part is that the average price of a bottle of this 19-year-old Ardbeg Oloroso Sherry bourbon cask is at 46.2% is around $300. Okay. That's where things get a little bit tricky. I was lucky. I found this one for a little bit under that, but I mean, I'm not going to pretend I got a great deal. I didn't. I bought this because I wanted it. I am doing my best to be as unbiased as possible. But the reality is that for $300, I am thinking of other whiskeys that I have purchased for $300 or less that are equivalent. So I'm thinking about Laphroaig to 18s, which on the secondary market, the prices have gone up but are still cheaper than this. And I think it's just as good, if not maybe a little bit better. In the peated realm, I mean, Jesus Christ, right? I mean, for another, you know, there are, I'm trying to think now, what is that? What the hell is it? I mean, okay, you know, we can't really talk Octomore, but like, I am blanking on the other comparison I wanted to make here. It doesn't really matter. Look, the reality is with this one, I think is this: it's overpriced, in my opinion. It's just that at $300 for a 19-year-old whiskey, even by today's standards, to me is just kind of absurd. You're paying the money because it's Ardbeg, and Ardbeg is popular, and they know they can get it, and whatever. If this was priced around $200, which, look, for some of us who were enjoying single malts just a couple of years ago, you know, that would have been outrageous for an 18. But let's just set that aside for a second and just kind of roll with it. If this was a $200 whiskey, I would say this is a definite buy. But at $300, I mean, that is a lot. You can, I mean, I'm thinking about some other things you could probably get for $300 now that aren't even peated. I mean, Balvenie tons you can get for $350. If you're looking at the right place at the right time, you can probably get a Bruichladdich Black Art. It's like, you know, there's a couple other ones I can think of. I mean, you could get, you know, let me just fucking look here, right? Cavalan Vinho Barrique. You know, Signet, but whatever. You get my point. There's a lot of really good whiskey, and at $300, is this the like standout? And for me, somebody who doesn't have unlimited money to just throw whiskey, is this the one that just stands out as, if I drink this blind or I drink this at a bar, I would be like, I will pay $300 for this? I gotta say no to that, man. I just do. It's nothing against the whiskey. It's just the demand and or the expectation of the demand. So, you know, I don't regret it. It's a good whiskey. It's a nearly great whiskey. It is what you expect. It is for a distillery that's been getting a lot of flack, some of it justified, I think, some of it not so justified, but some of it justified for some kind of mediocre releases that are overpriced. You might be skeptical about this. I'll tell you right now, from my experience drinking this, this is not a mediocre whiskey by any stretch. They're not just phoning this in. This is a well-crafted whiskey that is worthy of the Ardbeg name of old. It's just not a $300 whiskey. So with that, as you know, my rating scale, 4 is that I recommend you buy. 4 would be like a 90, right? So I'm going to give this a 3.75 as my preliminary score. We will do a full review of this later. This is a whiskey that warrants time, because what it is right off the bottle, as much as I think a whiskey should be good on the first pour, and it is, we should expect to see. We should wait and see where this goes. So I'm going to sit at a prelim score 3.75. That's not a review. That's not an official score. You know, blah, 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 whatever. On the 100-point scale, I'm in that 89. I'm like right there, 88, 89. It's as good as it gets. You got to lament the $300 price tag on this. Now, I may turn out to look foolish, and this may just be the thing, right? But if like this may just be what we expect. But when you look at things like Ardbeg, Springbank, and what's the other big Lagavulin of late, in the last year or two, the prices have been, I think, well, and obviously always Macallan and Balvenie to some degree. Those five, I think, are probably the biggest culprits of this. They're responding to demand, or they're driving demand, and because of their brand names, and quite frankly, their stuff is overpriced. It just is. So you're going to pay for it. In the case of Balvenie or Lagavulin, I have a tendency that I'll sometimes roll the dice and pay a little bit more because I think they're really good whiskeys. Ardbeg, I'm a little more hit and miss with, mostly because of some less than stellar experiences with some of these limited releases. But look, the Traigh Bhan is awesome. This is a really great whiskey. If I poured this for any of y'all who like peated whiskey, you'd like it. There's no doubt. This would be something you'd want. But I don't know. I can't say you should run and buy this. So I would say, for now, we'll revisit it again, probably as a full review in 2023. But for now, yeah, kick-ass whiskey. Not so much the price. Just a little bit too much for 19 years. This is like a 23-year Ardbeg or something. We could talk. So that's that. That is the tasting of the Ardbeg Traigh Bhan. I'd love to talk with you guys more. I'm going to hang out for a while. We can chat more about Ardbeg. We can chat more about peated whiskey in general. I'm way behind on the chat, so I got to catch up on that. Yeah, that's the best I can do. All right. We got 11 folks in still, which is sweet, man. How's everybody doing? I'm going to go back to this Linkwood again. This $60, 19-year-old cask strength Linkwood, 53.8%. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, it might have been like $80 even, but who cares, right? Compared to the $300 Ardbeg. Is what it is. All right. What's good, y'all? Let me catch up here. I'm gonna probably have to start arbitrarily somewhere here because I'm a bit far behind. Where were we? Oh, we'll start here. Speaking of Chicago breweries, we were chatting about. Did you see that there was Illinois only collab release of Bardstown and Goose Island? Yeah, I did. Yep. Yeah, a big thing last week in Chicago was the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout release. I did win one of the raffles, so I got the classic release. I didn't get the Old Fitz one and the other one, but I did get the classic release with like a bunch of them in. There were two other ones. There was a barley wine and the Old Fitz, which was in this like enhanced release. It was like $40 more. And I didn't win that. Yeah, BFD in Chicago for that, for sure. Goose Island, while now owned by InBev, still one of the more popular. They were kind of on the vanguard of the craft brewing thing and one of the big breweries here in Chicago. Their whiskeys are available everywhere here. Yeah, I mean, look, the Bourbon County Stout beers are freaking great. They do a fantastic job with that, even though they were bought out so many years ago now. Their other stuff, I mean, it's all very good. I don't know. It's fine. There's none of them that I like chase or desire, I think the problem for me here is that there's just so much good microbreweries that like Goose Island's been a little bit eclipsed by like in the city. I think in other places that get it, it's one of the few kind of craft beers sometimes that you can get at places. And, most places have a Goose Island now. So it's like, one of those things. So I'm a little spoiled, but I'll never turn it down. Yeah, the Bourbon County Stout's fucking awesome. Yeah, for sure. Dude, I had the classic, just the regular release, I have a bunch of the other, the classic release came with like 2 of just the standard Bourbon Counties. And then there's like 4 other like fun stuff ones. And then, like I said, that special release has 2 other ones. They're the Bourbon County Stout. You can't go into a liquor store in Chicago right now without a big thing of like Bourbon County Stout, or like the regular one, and they're just like, hey, $16 a bottle or whatever. Fucking worth it, man. They're like 18%, or this one this year's at 14.3% ABV or whatever. It's good. Yeah, I'm with Mark. They're awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Jason, you're right. I didn't win on that one, and I've heard good things about it, that's for sure. My local Total Wine is Goose Island Soda and Green Spot Leo Beans. Oh, Green Spot Leo Beans is awesome. About 100. I'm starting to see that creep above 100, but that's worth it. That's worth it at 100 for sure. Freddie D just picked up the Goose Island Original in Minnesota for $11. $30 in Canada if you can. Wow. Awesome, man. Hope you enjoy it. It's a good one. Yeah. It was the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout cask. I'm sure it's good. Yeah, it is for sure. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, the box looked cool. Just to get the basic coffee. The coffee was one of the ones I got. They brought that back this year. I don't remember what the ones I got. I think I posted it on Instagram. I'd have to look, but that's cool. Yeah, I'll be curious to hear what you think of those. So glad you're reviewing this because I really enjoyed earlier batches, but never pulled the trigger since usually something super rare at that price, like a Springbank or a Boona, that I would get interested. Yeah, I mean, dude, this price tag is rough. It's rough. I didn't buy the Ardbeg Hardcore committee release or the limited release this year, and it looks to me like a lot of other people did either. There's a Binny's liquor store by me that still has a full row of Ardbeg limited releases of the Hardcore, the 46%er, for $130 a piece. That row has been full for months. Anecdotal, small sample size, but I don't remember that being the case with the Grooves or even with the Scorch. Maybe people are like, you know what, fuck this. I remember getting the Grooves committee release for $120, and now it's $130 for the 46% limited release Hardcore. Fuck that. Cheers. Yeah, that was a good note, and I guess they picked up too. Is it on an Ardbeg, or is it just like in general? Is it because you're skittish about Ardbeg? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man. It's a little bit nutty. Yeah, the committee release. I have a couple of the limited release Dark Codes, which are really good, but committee, I would definitely go 300. Would you buy a 230 to 250? Man, it's so tough to say. No. I think 200. And here's why. This is good. It's subtle. It's complex. But the thing about Ardbeg, and I should have talked about this before. This might be a little bit of just opinion, but this is an opinion show. Ardbeg's core range, specifically the 10, Uigeadail, and Corey Vrecken, I think, comprise one of the strongest, if not the strongest, core range single malt selection off Islay, let alone anywhere. And as long as the Corey and the Oogie, in particular, and the 10 maintain their quality level, you could buy all three of those cheaper than buying a bottle of this. And the Oogie and the Corey Vrecken or the Uigeadail Corey Vrecken are fantastic. The 10 is awesome, but it's the 10. You could get bored with the 10. I could see that. I don't know. I just don't feel like you got to chase this one for that price. Unless you're so burned out on Corey Vrecken and Uigeadail and like just really want another Ardbeg specifically, because otherwise there's some other stuff you could find for that price. Even peated that I think might, I mean, you could, find some Lagavulin Jazz Fest or some shit like that. I don't know. The 19 years is great. It's a really good whiskey, but I'm just telling you, if you're like me and you can't just throw this money around, it's It's a little steep. Okay, I'll be honest. If I walked in the store right now and I saw it for $230, I probably would pull the trigger, not $250. But generally speaking, I think you get what I'm saying. I would probably be too compelled. I would probably think I was getting such a deal. You know how that goes when you go in the store, y'all. You're like, oh shit, that's cheaper than I've seen it or other people talked about it. All of a sudden it gets more appealing. I would probably be weak enough to buy it at $230. I just don't know, man. I'm still, my head is still in a time where like 18-year-old whiskeys were under $200. If you want it and you got it for $230, $250, go for it, and if you can afford it. But I don't think it necessarily, it's not like this is a must-have whiskey, in my humble opinion. Yeah, definitely codes. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Mike Meyer, what's up, buddy? Nice to see you, man. I want it at 200, hard pass at 300, in between. I don't know. Would depend on much. Yeah, that's exactly what that's exactly what I was just saying. That's funny. I didn't even read this yet. Yeah, you know, if I was in there, if I was walking in there thinking I'll spend $200 on whiskey and I saw the Traigh Bhan for $230, I'd be like, fuck. Yeah, let's do it. 300 though, man. Damn. I paid $280 for this, just to be completely honest. So what does it make me? I you know how it goes, man. It was late at night. I was on the phone, scrolling around. Ooh, Traigh Bhan for $280. Oh, I throw another whiskey on there. I could justify this. Let's make it a whole thing. Hey, you know, my weakness is strong sometimes. It's just money, but it's also just money, you know? I don't regret it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and like cry because it's not a bad whiskey. If it sucked, I would be royally pissed. And I will admit there was a little bit of a gamble with it. I hadn't had full bottles of the Traigh Bhan before. So, you know, look, a little bit more about Ardbeg. I've come around to not minding their kind of, you know, goofy, gimmicky advertising. I think some of it's kind of fun. Whiskey should be fun. It doesn't really bother me that much if the whiskey lives up to it. And the problem is not the marketing. It's that the whiskey is not as good as how it gives you the impression that you're being had. That's how people felt about Hardcore. That's how people are feeling about Scorch. That's how we felt about Drum. Like there's a whole lot of cool, funky, somewhat creative marketing going on, which again isn't bad in and of itself, in my opinion. We don't need to have everything be so stuffy and serious all the time with freaking Scotch, you know. And I kind of like Ardbeg's attitude. I used to not, but I've come around a bit. But the whiskey doesn't live up to it most of the time. That's the problem. Now we can take this to another distillery, which I think is in this similar mode of operating, which is our friends up on the islands in the far north at Highland Park. Once they, you know, like they put out so many goddamn whiskeys, like with crazy marketing. Like, I don't even know what they are or what to think, right? And it gives you the impression that you're not being respected, that you're being had, that they're spending so much money on this, but they're not really putting it into quality. And I don't think that there's any controversy in saying that. I think in a lot of the cases, with most of the Highland Park whiskeys, they're not worth the price. I'm thinking about, I have not even went all the way down the rabbit hole with the Val, you know, the Val Father and the Val Nut and the Val Kilmer and the, you know, Value Mart, whatever. Like, I haven't even really went down with those because I was just like, oh, screw this, you know. Everything's got some crazy over-the-top story. And you just feel like you're buying some cheap product. And most of the time it seemed like that. Now, there was one, the 16-year-old Twisted, the hell was that called? Twisted Tattoo. It's like Rioja cask, solid whiskey. The dark origins, you know, with the one that has like the Unabomber on it. In fact, I think I have it. If you guys haven't seen that one, like it was like $80. I really like it. Is this it? No, that ain't it. Where is that Ted Kaczynski bottle? Oh, here it is. Oh, no, that ain't it either. Oh, well. You know, if you've seen it, if not, just look it up online. You'll know what I'm talking about. The bottle literally, like, has, you know, this whiskey smuggler on it, but he looks like the freaking Unabomber from the 90s. It's almost absurd. And look, I didn't really like their NAS cast strength batch 1 or batch 2 all that much. Batch 2 is better, but batch 3 is pretty damn good. Daniel H. can attest to that. So look, I mean, that's the thing about Ardbeg. Some people might disagree. Some people might just think that they're too gimmicky, and no matter what, it's ridiculous. That's fine. And we can have a different opinion on that. I don't mind it. I thought the fermutation thing, it was cool. Like, they had a cool logo and kind of a funky backstory. You know, the Hypernova and the Supernovas. Like, I really enjoy the stuff that Gordon or Dr. Bill, you know, does to advertise these. You know, the Ardbeg. I don't know. That was kind of fun. But the problem is that when the whiskey doesn't reach to it, then you start looking at like, oh, well, you know, you feel like you're getting suckered. That's the problem. And I think Ardbeg is suffering a bit from that, and I think Highland Park definitely is suffering from that amongst us. You know, I know there are some people who wouldn't to say this, but it seems like that's the case for me. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. So anyways, moving along. Yeah, man. I mean, you do you, right? I can't, you know, I think this is a $200 whiskey. That's what I think I would want to pay for it. I paid way more for it. I don't regret having it, but I don't know. I love Ardbeg, but I love their GR bottles so much. I feel like all the others haven't really been much or even better than Yeah, I agree. What is the last Ardbeg that you had that you would definitively say was better than the Oogie or Corey Brecken? And I'm not talking about like, oh, I got some single cast from 1989. I'm talking about like stuff that's been released in the last couple of years. Any? Are there any? Can you think of one? Maybe the Supernova 2019. Maybe the Dark Cove Committee released in 2016. Maybe the Kelpie Committee release? Can you think of any? I mean, the Wee Beastie? No. Anno? No. That covers the core range. The 8 for discussion, I haven't drank it, but I can probably already tell you the answer is no. Trevan, debatable, but not for the price, right? So I can't think of anything. You know, there were those like 20-something single casks that came out or whatever. Or they're like 20-some-year-old. Yeah, but those are all like $600. So like whatever, that doesn't count. Think of one Ardbeg that's been released. Well, let's put the cutoff at 2016. One Ardbeg that's been released from the distillery that, with price in mind, can meet or exceed Corey Brecken or Ugadal. I think committee release Dark Cove is probably the only thing that I can think of. Or maybe Supernova 2019. Probably, right? But that's it. So not a great track record. Lagavulin, on the other hand, I think some of the Jazz Fest and Festival releases that I've had from them have been way better than the 16 or the 8. So, you know, even their Offerman stuff that they've put out is better than their 8. Debatable whether it's better than their 16, but probably not. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, right. I would pay more money for old Ugadals, but full disclosure, my first video that I'm going to release, I might still do it this year because it's not a review. Like I said, I'm not doing reviews until next year. I'm going to do like a walkthrough of the entire Ardbeg core range. Wee Beastie, Anno, 10, Oogie, Corey, Traigh Bhan. I don't know if the 8 for discussion is considered core range or not yet, but I might throw some of the other ones in. Hypernova. We'll see. So I'm going to be opening a newer Oogie. This is currently the only one I'd consider seriously because of the marketing BS past couple of years after being a fanboy for decades. Okay, so you don't look, you feel like. Let me ask you. I mean, just out of curiosity, if the whiskey had lived up to its expectations, if the whiskey had lived up to the quality that you'd expect, or even maybe it was just slightly less, would the marketing bother you as much? Melon, my weakness in malt whiskey. Yeah, that kind of tropical fruit, that kind of full, gives it almost like a creamy sweetness. I hear you, man. This one's got it. Hey, what's up, Brad? What's going on in Detroit? Everybody's doing well. Yeah, cheers to you too, sir. Yeah, definitely. Just tuning in my copyright, catch up on the radio. Hey, take it easy, Freddie, man. Good to see you. Thanks for swinging in. Oh, so now we're getting into me drinking the Traigh Bhan. Okay. White pepper. White pepper is prickly like pepper, but without the peppery flavor. That's really interesting. Because sometimes I think when I taste what you're describing, I describe it as it's like peat, like that effervescent peat note, or chili pepper, or cinnamon. I wonder. I got to focus a little bit more on that. That's really, really interesting, Jason Coates. Thank you for sharing that. That's helpful. It'll definitely help me when I'm thinking about things when I'm tasting them. Yeah, like I said, when Telex and I used to do the show, he used to always say, like, so many whiskeys, like, oh, there's that nice white pepper note. I'm like, what is he talking about? What is that? I don't pick it up at all. So maybe it's just I'm calling it something else, or it just tastes like something else to me. But that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm actually gonna screenshot this really quick just so I remember what you said. There we go. Okay. Hey, Mr. White. How are you, sir? What's up in Ontario? Yeah, this is gonna be, this approach. Maybe it won't be so surprised, but this kind of different days thing. This is going to be, I think, what things are going to look like more often than not when I get back into the swing of things here. So keep an eye out. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Glad. Leo. $130 for Corey. Damn. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's too much for the Corey. The Oogie is right at the limit for me. I mean, when these were out, the average price was right around 90, I think. Corey was always a little bit more. But 130, fuck. Hey, man, Lagavulin 16 right now here in Chicago is $140. Right there, man. $140 for a Lagavulin 16. Are you kidding me? It's been crazy. So, not to go off on too much of a tangent, but we were talking about like some of these distilleries where their prices are just like, they seem to have went up at rates uncomparable to other distilleries. So Lagavulin 16, I want to say for the last year and a half, been about $100 here. About 3 months ago, I walked into the local Binny's by me. And I saw it, and I walked by. The price was at $79.99, not on sale, just regular price, $79.99. I'm like, oh, cool. The Lagavulin 16 price finally coming back down to earth. That's great. I wasn't trying to buy one. I don't really need a bottle of Lagavulin 16 right now. But I was like, hey, okay, glad to see it, right? I mean, inflation, whatever, war in Ukraine, whatever the hell it is. We don't need to get into that part. But like, I was happy to see that the price was coming down to something reasonable. Like a month ago, I walked back into that same Penny's and it's $139.99. Like the price went up $40 overnight. Or $60 actually. It was $99, $79 for like 2 months, and now it's $139. I was like, what the fuck? $139? Man, that is the price of a 12 cask strength these days. I don't know. It was crazy. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe it was a misprint, but that was out there for a minute. That $79.99 price was there for, I gotta say, at least like 2-3 months. I'm not kidding. And it seemed, and I just assumed, regressing to the mean, right? It's coming back down to earth after these 2 years of like ridiculous prices. And then I come back in there and now it's like they're selling it at prices that you used to be able to, used to be high for a Lagavulin 12 2 years ago. Cask strength. It's crazy. Oh yeah. In fact, we could do a little side by side. I got a green tube Laphroaig 18 up there that's open. Yeah, I mean, even on secondary market, I mean, you're overpaying for those now, the white tube or the green tube Laphroaig 18s, but it's still cheaper, like exponentially cheaper than this. Man, you and me both. Because that 16 is nowhere even close to what the 18 was. Not even in the same ballpark. And the lore, while good, ain't the 18. I was not. I'm assuming I was talking about something that was written up here. Laphroaig 18, maybe. Yeah. No, I didn't see it at all, buddy. Scout's honor. CS Benevis IBs. I wish I had bunkered up for a good. Yeah, dude. Right? All right, fair point. Yeah, I might have been ahead of my skis a bit on that one. White. Ooh, damn. Coates got some at auction too. That's awesome. Hey, I feel you. You see the old, like right here, there's a Glenmorangie, a Glengoyne 25, the old bottling before they rebranded. Bought that for $2.99. Or no, it was on sale for $2.79. It was a regular price was $2.99. This was 2020 or maybe late 2019, and I was like, oh my god, what did I just do? I went on the same website, I'm not even kidding, a month later, and it was $4.29. It's like, glad I did that. Yeah, for real. Compared to the Laphroaig, similar. I would say it's quite similar. I think the Laphroaig, the Laphroaig is bottled at 48. You know what? We don't even need to talk about it. We're just going to do it. Let me get some Laphroaig 18 in the glass here. And I have some of the Traigh Bhan. This is an old beast. Let me get some of this in the glass. In fact, let me go. Give me just a second. Let me get in their glass. We'll do a little side by side. Why the fuck not? Right back. All right. I love Laphroaig 18. I don't just like it. I love it. It's a fantastic whiskey. Okay. Let's let that sit. The Traigh Bhan, get that poured. We'll let this sit for about, 10 minutes. I don't know. And we'll do a little side by side. What do you guys think? Now, again, I haven't recently looked for a bottle of Laphroaig 18, but I remember buying most of these for 120 to 130 on secondary market, and it's probably in the 200 range now. And I would say that's, obviously that's still much cheaper than the Traigh Bhan. Okay, so we're going to let these sit, get a little oxygen, catch up here. Fucking crazy. Cheers, buddy. I got a bunch of Ben Nevis's. I'm going to do a Ben Nevis show sometime next year. I have a 23-year-old like independent bottled Ben Nevis, and then like a bunch of weird, 5 to 7-year-olds. I've been kind of meaning to do that for a while. The richness of this Ben Romic contrast more like 50%. And that's 46 non-chill natural, right? The bourbon cask one too? Yeah, man. Ben Romic. Ben Romic was, clearly it was my whiskey of the year was a Ben Romic. So not surprised and glad to hear you're on board, man. Their whiskey kicks ass at great price. That's the other part that puts it over the top for now. They're kind of like the Springbank Speyside. That might be a little much, but I'm not a sherry fan. And sweet but heavily peat is great. Yeah, sherry and peat is one of my favorite things. Hey, Gene, how you doing? LCB was a joke. Obviously, I wrote them off, but missed the Laphroaig 10 CS. I hope you can get your hands on a Laphroaig 10 CS. Anytime you can get a Laphroaig 10 CS. The answer is yes. It's great. 2022 Oogie is one of the better ones I've had in recent years. Great. That's what I mean, man. As long as that stays in, as long as they don't, I know there was like a bad batch with the 10 last year. So I don't know. As long as they don't mess up the Oogie and the Corey and the 10, Ardbeg's core range will always have a place on my bar, for sure. Yeah. Come on, man. Laphroaig 18 for a hundo. That's the right move every day. Stuff is great. I love Laphroaig 18. Complex, challenging whiskey, but it's really good. I actually love the drum is grilled pineapple. Oh, you like the drum? Okay. I wasn't a huge fan. I expected more. And I think I liked the one that was right before it, the grooves. I actually kind of liked the grooves. Valknut was pretty good. Twisted Tattoo. Yeah, that was the one. Right, that's 16. As for Dark Origins, I'm happy to keep buying them for Daniel. Not my favorite HP. Full volume. Yeah, wasn't that like a 17-year-old full volume? Hey, dude. You'd think Johnny Rotten was behind it, wouldn't you? I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit like, screw you guys. So I kind of was right there with you on that one, buddy. Is it the committee? I'd buy a black committee for 200. I liked the black committee a lot. The problem with the limited release 46 is it has a shit finish. Yeah, I haven't opened it yet. I got one. It strikes me as it'll probably be pretty good. I had heard decent things. Hey, what's up, Vegas? Art sending it from the desert. How you doing, man? I liked the Groove CR. Hell yeah. In fact, I think I might have one with you. Totally. 8 is decent. 10, that black though. Cheating. Ardbeg 10 Reign Supreme, says Gene. Black is okay for a good price. So the 8 rumor is that the 8 is going to become core. I'm not sure. If you go on their website, they kind of make it look like it. But then you go and you look for the 8, and it's like $150. I'm like, is that, or $200? I'm like, is that what you like? Who's going to buy the 8 for that price? A cast strength 8? I don't know. Yeah. Definitely. What Jason Coates said. Definitely. Not even a question. Or shit, man. Imagine if, think about some of the things they could do. Like Laphroaig does. Laphroaig, for all the things you can criticize them about at times, one thing that they seem to do right consistently is their cartridge release. Their cartridge releases are always in the 100 or less on average. Whether it's cask strength, they're all pretty much cask strength. They're close to it, and they're all pretty good. The Porton wine casks one from a couple years ago, in 2020, I didn't find all that great, but that was probably the weakest one. The warehouse one is good. The PX cask strength was good. Triple wood cask strength was pretty good. Pheno was good. Quarter cask strength is great. Madeira was The 200th anniversary was awesome. They do it right. Nice, man. Yeah, you're lucky. Better get it now. $140 in Chicago, man. It went from 80 to 140 in like overnight. It doesn't really matter. I am not in the market for one. Nothing against the whiskey. I'm just not compelled to buy it, and I liked it. I remember the first time I had it, I was like, wow, the complexity. Compared to like when you're just getting into peat and you're drinking the Ardbeg and the 10 and the Laphroaig 10 and Port Charlotte 10 even. That 16-year-old Lagavulin, that thing slapped, man. The problem now, though, is just that I'm not going to pay $100 for it. I'll pay another $30 and get the 12 cask strength, which is exponentially better in my humble opinion. Yeah, okay, so you've seen this kind of thing too, right? Like, what is going on? Is there like a shortage? I've not seen anything. I'm not following every press release from Lagavulin, or Diageo for that matter, but what the fuck is going on? Nowadays, right? Definitely. What is there a 15 or a 16-year-old whiskey even out there these days from a big name distillery that's under 100? Old Pulteney, and then you got your like Tomatin or your Loch Lomond, those will be under 100. Pulteney, you can get a Pulteney 15 for like under 100. What Glenfarclas, but don't even get me started on them. Fuck them. Their U.S. stuff is crap in my opinion. Not to open a can of worms with that, just my opinion. It underwhelms. Ben Romick 15 is under 100. The Glenmorangie 15 is even like a Honda these days, isn't it? What else is there? 15-year-old whiskeys used to be, not so long ago, were cheaper. Every once in a while, if you're looking in the right place, you can still find like an Enoch 18 for like right around 100, 120. Definitely worth it. Laphroaig, none of those. Laphroaig doesn't even have an age statement whiskey in their core range. Other like it goes from what, the 10 to the 25, or is that 16 first fill bourbon one part of their core range now? Yeah, it's a disappointing whiskey for me compared to what it should be. I mean, $100 for the Highland Park 15, so that's not under 100. I don't really think there's really that many. It's crazy. $80. I got a batch 2 right here. I just picked it up. I haven't opened it yet. I'm going to do a little comparison with the other one. Nice. All right. I got to stop this off at somewhere. I'm way behind still, y'all. I'm just way behind. Hey, Daniel, if you wouldn't mind, I just scrolled fast to the bottom. Would you mind wrenching this PA fund adult dating site jerk off? We don't need the spammer. If you wouldn't mind wrenching them, if you're not here, though, I can grab it. Ah, there's my boy Cohen. What's up, LA? How you doing, brother? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. James Morgan's in the house too from London. Don't go clicking that link, y'all. All right. Yeah, but now they started chill filtering though, but still. You're right. It's like right in that 100 range. Sometimes you find it for like 85, 90, sometimes a little bit more. But yeah, it's close. Yeah, Glendronach 50. Okay. Yeah, worth it for sure. I haven't had the new chill filtered version. I think it's probably still worth it. Okay. I mean, I'm not buying the 8 or the 16 really. Yeah, I'm with you. Eric sent me a sample before Thanksgiving blind. It shocked me when he told me what it was. It did, didn't you? I told you it was a 4 out of 5 whiskey. I am too, man. I am too. Get it. Get it when you can. I'll tell you right now. I did a comparison video between 2 and 3 because I thought 1 was a fucking hot mess. I know some people like the 1 the best, which I don't understand. But that's that. People have different tastes. I'll tell you right now, batch 3 cast strength. Well, since you're all here, I'm going to do 1, maybe 2 more videos this year. They're not going to be reviews. I'm going to do 3 whiskeys that surprised me this year. Meaning for the price, they were good or they were better than expected, or they were a newer distillery and their whiskey was better than expected, or it was something that I bought for some strange reason after I'd had not great experiences with it and it surprised me. You might be seeing that Highland Park cast strength batch 3 on that. Okay, so as we were saying, we're going to do a little comparison here. Ardbeg, which we opened earlier, Ardbeg batch 4 Traigh Bhan, kick whiskey, really good stuff. Unfortunately, the price is a bit prohibitive, and I don't think it's quite worth it. But really good. And it's going to go up against a whiskey that I think even on secondary market you can still get at least $50 to $100 cheaper, and that's the Laphroaig 18. So, just to recap, bourbon and sherry cask on the Traigh Bhan, 46.2% non-chill filtered, natural color, likely. The Laphroaig 18, 48%, 18 years old, non-chill filtered. Didn't say anything else. Because it's Laphroaig, and of course they're not going to tell you anything. That's what they do. Okay, let's take a look at the color. This is the Traigh Bhan. This is the Laphroaig 18. You tell me if you think this Laphroaig 18 is either a full sherry, which we know it's not, or maybe there's some color in it. What do you guys think? This is the Traigh Bhan. This is the 18. Laphroaig right here. Quite the difference, wouldn't you say? And one looks pretty clearer than the other. Could they be adding fake color to the Laphroaig 18 even back in the green tube days? I don't know. Traigh Bhan. Subtle, complex, smoky spice, and that melony sherbet sweetness. The peat and smokiness is there, playing very well integrated with everything else happening in this. A fantastically sweet, interesting nose. Laphroaig 18. Man, I miss this whiskey. Punchier, smokier, much more of a barbecue note, citrus, medicinal. So the profiles of these are relatively the same. I think a little bit more savory on the Laphroaig 18 than the Traigh Bhan. And the Laphroaig 18 is a bit punchier and nearly 2% more ABV. But man, is that fantastic. Well, this has a nice kind of subtle vanilla coat to it. The Traigh Bhan is much more of a mint chocolate, spearmint. Wow. All right, let's taste them. We'll go Laphroaig 18 first. Awesome. Bolder, much bolder, much more intense. Wow. That is so good. It is, it's richer. A lot of, again, sort of tropical fruit, which I think is coming from bourbon cask. There's nothing that strikes me sherried about this. Exactly. Toffee butterscotch, heavy phenol, medicinal note, but it's not overpowering. It's just stronger and more intense. Long finish. Apricot orange. Cherry starburst. Strawberry licorice. Sweet fruits. Earthy, dense, dark, vegetal peat smoke. And then just wrapped in this creamy vanilla and like dentist office, whatever that stuff is, sterilizing stuff, right? It's a Laphroaig. It smells like a freaking hospital. Yep. Awesome, awesome whiskey. Now back to our friend, as of a couple hours ago, or an hour and a half ago, Ardbeg Traigh Bhan batch for 46.3. Not chill. Clearly a natural color. Not so sure about that Laphroaig 18, actually. Less of the hospital and more of the like ashy soot, chimney soot, asphalt. So, in other words, the peat of an Ardbeg versus the peat of a Laphroaig. That sweet orange sherbet, and then the spices, the baking spices, the vegetal kind of, not vegetal, but the fennel we were talking about earlier, the clove, the dark spices. There's some roasted nut quality to this. And that's spearmint. As I said before, much more elegant and delicate whiskey on the arrival. Rich, medium to fuller body, and the viscosity, huge flavors. But everything is, the Laphroaig 18 is at like an 8 volume. The Traigh Bhan is like at like a 6. Everything is more subtle. Everything is more subdued. The peat is more integrated. The smoke is more integrated. These fruit notes are more integrated. Longer finish, roasted coffee, the vanilla, that orange sherbet note, or sherbet note, whatever it's called, sorbet, whatever you want to call it. Chocolate syrup, dark chocolate cocoa powder, maybe. Some herbal notes showing up. Okay. I love both of these whiskeys. But like, let's just play this game. So for the price, if you can go down secondary market and find an 18, you'll probably find it for 200, 220. Buy that over this Traigh Bhan at 300. I think the Traigh Bhan is a little bit more crafted. It's a bit more subtle. There's a little bit more interesting stuff going on in it. It's not as bold and assertive. It's a little bit more refined, relaxed. The 18 Laphroaig is a much more, again, has its share of complexity and intensity. I think higher than the Traigh Bhan, but also has, like I said, it's got a lot going for it. These are both really good whiskeys. But for the value, for the money, even on secondary market of a discontinued whiskey, Laphroaig 18, I think you got to go Laphroaig 18 if it's an either or scenario. This Traigh Bhan's just too much money. Yeah, there you have it. Let me do another sips here. Man, Ardbeg really kicked ass on this whiskey. Where's his Royal Highness? He is, he's actually in my bed. I don't know what he's doing. He normally around this time would be up poking around looking for food, but he has been sleeping all day. I don't know. He's a moody guy. So I doubt we're going to get I doubt we're going to get a sighting. Okay, look, if you really pushed it, if I had to say what strikes me as having more complexity, I think the Traigh Bhan does. But that's not to say the 18 is simplistic. It's not. The 18 is just it's a louder whiskey. It's a bolder whiskey. It's a more aggressive whiskey. And it ain't just because of that extra 2%. I don't think that's what's doing it. I really think that this is it's Laphroaig. I think the complexity goes to the Traigh Bhan. I think the just peaty bomb, while neither of these I would say are necessarily a huge peat bomb, the 18 is kind of right there. God, I love that. Look, y'all, if you have yet to figure out, find yourself an auction site or a super secret secondary market site or a friend that has one, and just you got to get yourself some. You got to get yourself some Laphroaig 18 in your life. If you're like Pete, if you're a Pete, you're an Islay whiskey lover. What a gem! The lore is good, but it doesn't. It doesn't do what this does. This is the crossroads of Laphroaig. This is where, in my opinion, it goes from the best possible scenario all the way, where the equilibrium of heavy peat, phenol, medicinal, and the complexities of an aged whiskey are really at their prime. I do have a Laphroaig 25. I don't find it quite as interesting as this 18. I don't like it quite as much, to be honest with you. Other batches may be different, but I find it like it's a little too tame. And that's where this Traigh Bhan is like not quite that level. It still has its peat and it's smoky, but not like this. You know, it's more refined tropical fruit, stuff like that. Good stuff. Just, I don't know. I'm not running around trying to chase Laphroaig 25s. I tend to like younger, heavier peated whiskeys, some punch in the face peated whiskeys. So this is like kind of where my equilibrium is. And to be frank, the reason the Traigh Bhan actually has been something I've at least considered is just because of how good the Laphroaig 18 was. I was like, okay, let's see if Ardbeg is right there. These are two different whiskeys with a lot of similarities, but like I think, again, we're going to do a full review of the Traigh Bhan next. I'll do a full review of it next year, early in 2023. As it stands now, yeah, I'm like right on the cusp. It's the price that kills it. This is a $200 whiskey max, and that's, you know, being generous considering the times. Let's go back into this 18. God, that's fucking good. Man, this brings it. This whiskey just. We're saying this whiskey slaps. It brings it. It brings it. It brings it. Brings what you want. Just 1 second, y'all. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. Business. I like Ardbeg. I'm not ashamed to say it. I like Ardbeg. Ardbeg 10. I did a video. This must have been like, man, over a year and a half ago. This could be fun to redo, where I did like a battle of the 10s. You know, I did the Ardbeg 10, Port Charlotte 10, Laphroaig 10. That was a lot of fun, and I think the only one that this is the problem. Okay, I'm gonna get into this for a second. Let's talk about Laphroaig for just a second. Laphroaig 10 in the United States is 43%. I know for some of our folks overseas it's 40%, which is like a joke. I'll never for the life of me understand why so many good whiskeys are bottled at less ABV over in Scotland and the UK than they are here. Putting that aside for a second. I feel like a compulsion to always defend Laphroaig 10 because it's like it was the one that opened the door. The peat of Laphroaig is still my like favorite peat, if that makes sense. And it's just like so classic. But it doesn't, it's, you know, like its parts are not, they don't make up a full whole picture, right? Like the whiskey has its issues. And I think it's getting worse. I do think last year was a good year for Laphroaig in 2021. They released the 10 Sherry Oak, which I thought was a pretty good bottle. And it was at a good ABV. They released the PX Caster Cartridge, which I think was a really good bottle. They curiously released 2 10 cask strengths. One was quite good, the 13. One, not so good. Still good. I mean, still a Laphroaig 10 cask strength, but not good, not nearly as interesting compared to the others in the 14. And part of me wondered is like, is this because Campbell's leaving? And, you know, is this a sign of things to come? They're going to start trying to pump out 2 10 cask strengths a year. Well, the 15 that was released this year was a welcome return to form. That said, they had a good year last year. But I was happy to see that they put a sherry cask whiskey into their core range. I think it's going that like suffered. It really suffered. Their core range kind of suffers, right? You got Select, which you got the 10, you got the quarter cask, and then the triple wood is gone. And then you have the lore, right? And the 10 cask strength. So, and then then it's like it goes from 10 cask strength, and then I think this. I don't know if the 16 is core range yet. Somebody can answer that. Either way, it's not that impressive of a whiskey compared to the lore, in my opinion. Lore is way better. And then you go into like the 25, 28, 30s, whatever. Like Laphroaig needs a 15 bourbon sherry cask, 46% non-chill natural, right? Like that's what they need. So the 10 is like kind of in this weird spot, right? Where like it's classic. Everybody's had experience with 10. I love the profile, but it just seems like it's getting worse. And with that dropping, it's like you're really limited in like a standard Laphroaig I'm willing to buy. I think the only Laphroaigs I'm really willing to spend money on now that I've tasted them all for the price, 10 cask strength, what, 85, 90 bucks? Lore, 85, 90 bucks? Those two. I would have said quarter cask a couple of years ago, but now that's like 70, 75 bucks. And like, come on, I'll pay the extra 10 bucks for the 10 cask strength. So it's like, you know, you're kind of in this weird spot. And it feels like the 10 has just been like slowly getting less and less interesting. Ardbeg 10, in contrast, 46% non-chill filtered, natural color, is maintained. They've had a couple funky batches, but it's maintained. And like Ardbeg doesn't have holes in their core range, in my opinion. Their core range is freaking stout. I mean, it's got the three of the best Islay whiskeys you can readily get. Corey Brecken, Ugadal, 10. Right? Who can compete with that? Nobody, in my opinion. Lagavulin has an 8 and a 16. And then a periodic 11, which is not really core range. It's, you know, whatever. Kilchoman's all over the place, young. Maybe some would argue that the Loch Gorm or something, well, they're all $100 whiskeys, but I don't want to be biased. I don't love Kilchoman, but not because of their quality. It just doesn't work for me. But I will acknowledge that like Kilchoman has some good quality core range whiskeys. Port Charlotte, you got the 10, and then like a bunch of random funky ones. Kalila, forget it. The 12 is watered down. The 12 became irrelevant years ago. Their 15 is basically on good luck finding that unpeated 15 at cask strength. And then you have the 18, which usually comes in at a decent price if you can find it, but it's 43%. So like Kalila is not really in the game. Buno, we can't count because they're not really heavily peated. So, like, what does that leave us with? Right? I mean, Ardbeg's core range is the best of them all, I think. I don't know what competes with it. And Laphroaig, while probably being the distillery, has the best opportunity to meet Ardbeg halfway, seems to go in the opposite direction in some cases, right? Now the 10 Sherry Oak was a step maybe in the right direction. Age stated it was 48 or 46%. That was cool. There's nobody on Islay that I think can mess with the 10 Corey Brecken and Ugadal. And until that happens, you know, we're kind of in this place where like you wish Laphroaig would put out something that they release annually. Why can't they make an Ugadal type whiskey? Why can't they make a Corey Brecken type whiskey that's bottled at a higher ABV, that's an NAS, but it's like quality? Why can't they do any of that? And they just don't, you know? that 16 Lagavulin or 16 Laphroaig first fill bourbon, I wanted to like that more than I did. It's just not that great. Uigeadail and Ardbeg are great whiskeys. So I don't know what competes. I guess we'll see, right? Lag is Lag on Islay? Or no, we're waiting on Ardbeg. And then, to bring it full circle, it comes back to this question, right? It's like, if you ask me, like, while it's like $10 more now, I'll buy Ardbeg 10 over Laphroaig 10 every time. This just seems to be where it's at. So, let's give credit where credit is due. Ardbeg, despite some of their other stuff, their core range is awesome. Mostly. I mean, Anno is not bad, but I don't think it's anything to write home about. And Wee Beasties. Well, okay. I mean, it's not bad, but, So, I don't know. That's where that stands. Okay. What we're going to do to close out this stream, which, by the way, thank you guys for hanging out. This is cool. As I was mentioning earlier on some previous live streams, I've like sunset the Tasty Tuesday thing is done for the year. It's very likely that it's not coming back. My head currently is thinking about, well, I need to have less. I'm going to do a little bit less, but a little bit more production quality, perhaps. These kind of more random live streams, which I will try to schedule more further in advance than than tonight's was, for example. I'm thinking that doing these on kind of different nights a couple times a month instead of every Tuesday is going to be the direction this is going. And not reviews every Friday, but perhaps a little bit more randomly as well. I feel like I was getting a bit overextended. I was getting a bit burned out, and I think this break that I'm taking, like, I'm having more fun tonight than I've probably had in a while. And not to say I wasn't, but having fun. But this has been a much more like relaxed. I don't feel pressure. It's great. And I'm not in this to like, conquer YouTube or whatever, or try to be the biggest thing. That's not what the point of this channel has ever been, and it's not going to change. I just want to keep it a little more flexible for my own sanity, and I'm glad to see folks hanging out tonight. It feels good to be able to just kind of hang out, instead of like, oh my God, it's Tuesday and here's the bottle we're doing, and I gotta figure out what the bottle is going to be every week and all that. So I appreciate it. I thought maybe what I would do, since we've been like drinking peated whiskeys, and some of y'all probably weren't able to catch the last one, we're going to go back and have another pour of this bad boy. And that is dun 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 Ardbeg Hypernova. If you don't know, let me give you the info. 51% ABV, non-H statement. It does not say anything on this about chill filtration or natural color, which is bizarre. But again, I'm assuming that we know that it's not, because Ardbeg doesn't really do that. It is supposedly, well, not supposedly, it is the peatiest whiskey they've ever done. 170 ppm. And am going to be the first one here to tell you I think the average price on this is between like 180 and 230, but it's going to go up quick. This is not a slouch whiskey, and it gives you exactly what you want, but maybe not much more than that. We're going to have another sip. Let me catch up on the chat. We got 16 folks in, which is awesome, man. Let me get back up to where I was. I see a couple pings. Mike Bizop. Take care, Mike. It was good to see you, man. God, this is vanilla citrus. You talking about that Ben Romick? Oh, yeah, Winston. Hey, Mr. White. He's back. What's up, man? It is. Yeah, he's usually right over there by this point. I don't know what's going on with him. Like I said, he's hiding out in his. I don't know. He goes in cycles. He gets into some type of thing for 3 weeks and then he's off to do something else. So now it's yeah, right. The gun comes out. Now he's now apparently it's sleeping on my bed. No, that's not gonna happen. Loser, why did you delete all the whiskey channels on your channel? Whiskey channels. I don't know if you're still on, Cohen. I'm actually not sure what you mean. I don't delete anything. Yeah, if you could say just a little bit more about that, that'd be great. Hey, Just Whiskey, how you doing? Oh yeah, talking about the Laphroaig 10, dude, totally. There's a couple other whiskeys over there in the UK that are bottled at 40% that are 43% here. Glenmorangie 10, Highland Park 12, I think Annock 12. Is it a tax thing? Is there some, why would they bottle lower proof? Why do they think the American market needs the extra 3%? I don't know. Or the North American market. I think Canada's the same as us. But yeah, it's bizarre. But then they get the Glenfarclas 15, which is 46% over there, and we don't get it in the States. I don't know, man. There's just so much weirdness. I don't quite get it. Cohen says Laphroaig 10 is what is poured over oyster. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I'd throw lower on there. Wow. Forget that. That's too much for either of those, in my opinion. Cleo's entry 1243 mass produced 85. Oh my god, dude. It's ridiculous how expensive. I went into a place, it was 90. This was just 2 days ago. Look, are you kidding? We can get independent bottlings of Kahlua, which is really the only way to drink Kahlua. I've come to figure out. Although their 18 is okay, they're 25. I have it at 25. It's good, but yeah, you got to go India with the Kahluas. $85 for a Kahlua 12. Are you kidding me? That has to be the worst deal in whiskey that I've heard of late. Give me a break, man. I would pay $300 for a Traigh Bhan before I would pay $85 for a Kahlua 12. It's just true. I would. Screw that. No, it's not at all, Mr. White. The 17 too, right? They had a 17 unpeated. Leg is no. Guys, the Edredor is effing amazing. Which Edredor are you drinking? I don't remember which one you got. Is it a bourbon cask or something? Yeah, Edredor is good stuff. Yeah, the channel links on your channel to other channels is now blank on your page. Oh, fuck, really? Oh, I'll take a look at that after this. I didn't realize that. That's annoying. I wonder how that would have happened. Maybe I did something by accident. Thanks for flagging that, man. What's the difference between Hypernova and Supernova? Yeah, great question. So the Supernova, so you're not going to find this out by reading the bottles because they don't tell you. Supernova was 100 ppm and bourbon sherry cask. This Hypernova, I'm guessing, is strictly bourbon and probably younger, which makes sense because they're trying to hit you over the head with 170 ppm. I mean, look at the color of this. That I mean, that looks like an Ardbeg bourbon cask whiskey, doesn't it? It's gorgeous, but yeah, Hypernova is, I think all bourbon cask and probably a little bit younger to achieve the level of smokiness they're trying to get. I don't know how the science works completely, but I do know generally that as the age goes up, the peat breaks down. So if you're trying to get 170 ppm into a whiskey, this is probably why the Octomores that are heavily peated, that you taste the heavily peat and smoke in, are all like 3 to 5 year olds. I'm guessing this is probably right around there. 51% ABV. I can smell it from here. Like this is exponentially over the top. Hey, Dram Dude, what's up, buddy? How are you, man? Good to see you. Hope you're you and yours are doing well. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving, man, and heading into Christmas. It has been. Yeah. It's good to see you, man. For folks who are on Instagram looking to see some cool whiskey-related photography and other stuff, man, do check out Instagram at Dram Dude. He's got great stuff. Oh, brutal. 43% here. As Coach said, yeah, I agree that it makes a difference. 85 here without tax, 93 on the door. Whatever. He says it's a banger. That's fair. Sounds about right. I did a review. You know, I'm not a Glenfarclas guy. I've run my course with a lot of Glenfarclases that I'm willing to pay money for, and I'll tell you the 15 is the only one. I got to get it overseas because the rest of the ones in the States here are shit. My opinion. Right, I agree. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? So like ppm is measured in phenols per million, whatever, during the drying of the barley, right? Once it gets into the whole distillation and fermentation process, obviously that breaks down. You're absolutely right. That said, now there are some schools of thought. I had a Diageo rep tell me once that, I don't remember what they cited. I wish I had a link because I would use it. Because I've said this before. Is like the human palate really can't taste more than 40 ppm anyways. And I think that there might be some credibility. I'm thinking about, I'll tell you, I'll drink a Laphroaig 10 cask strength, and then I'll drink a Octomore that's like 230 ppm, and I think the Laphroaig is more intense. It's marketing. But I will say, if you were around last week when I cracked this whiskey is by far the smokiest, heaviest Ardbeg I've ever had, and probably of any distillery I've ever tasted before. That's just kind of where I'm at on it. Wow, top 386. Yeah, okay. I'll get. I'm picking up what you're throwing down, Coates. All right. So Hypernova. I don't know how many bottles there are, but I'm sure if you see them, you might want to get it now if you want it because they'll be gone soon. $180 to $220 ish. Non-age statement. Again, kind of cool art, in my opinion. I have a Supernova 2019 behind me, but I like the whole Nova stuff that they do. These are fun. It says it's possibly the smokiest dram in the world. This one, at least. We know that's not. Well, smokiest is different than ppm, right? Peat and smoke are different, so they can kind of say this. Clever. Hypernova possesses a multi-magnitude never before experienced. This is a brutally smoky dram. That's true. And radiates flavor in every direction. Undoubtedly Ardbeg's smokiest spirit. Hypernova 2022, which kind of implies they might do this again, is a cataclysmic event for the distillery. It's big, it's intense, and it's pulling palates into a whole new direction. Yeah, it is. Again, it does not say anything about non-chill filtration or natural color, which is ridiculous. Just put it on here. They put it on the Traigh Bhan. It's written on the fucking Traigh Bhan. Why can't they put it on this? They just assume because it's 51% that we don't know. If it ain't on here, we don't know. Just put it on here. But it says committee HN 2022 release. That implies that the Nova thing isn't over. Like we might see more Hypernovas. When I heard about this, my first reaction was, oh, bother. But then I started thinking more, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I gotta get this one. Because the Supernovas are good. So here we go. I have had a couple drams of this. 170, blah, blah, blah. Beautiful Ardbeg color, natural. That is as natural as it gets. I would be incredibly surprised if this was not natural. And I can tell you from right here, this is just in your face. God damn. New make spirit, yes. Does this have a bit of that vegetal minerality? Definitely. You're getting some Ardbeg young spirit here, but of course, I mean, to get this much smoke into it, that makes sense, and it is smoky. I'm not being dramatic. It is that smoky. This whiskey is really intense. Behind the intense smoke and peat, there's little hints of tropical fruit. There's vanilla, like vanilla. There's a little bit of light confectionery kind of golden apple fruit, earthiness. Man, this is just like, yeah, one of the smokiest, if not the smokiest whiskeys I've had. There's no doubt about it. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Freaking monster. Absolute monster. But here's the thing. My eyes water a little bit. Holy shit. I haven't had a sip of this since the last stream, and I think my reaction was similar. God damn. Okay, let's get one thing out of the way. This doesn't have the, I would say, like, nuanced complexity that some of those Octomore young releases has. It just doesn't. But it's not missing any of those elements. There is a nice sweet fruitiness to this. There's some really nice bourbon cask influences. The new make spirit, which you can detect a bit on the nose, is rounded off quite nice on the palate. I will say that. It's more integrated than maybe you would expect it to be. It is just an absolute monster. And I don't want to repeat myself too much, but as I was saying on the stream when I did this before, there's one Ardbeg whiskey I think I could compare this to in terms of just sheer intensity of experience, and that's Corey Kraken. And so I think I may entertain that as a comparison at some point. Medium finish. Still getting a little bit of that tropical fruit, golden apple, a little bit of butterscotch, a little bit of earthy, and then just ash. So smoke. The smoke is just huge on this whiskey. You pick up the new make on the nose. The nose is the worst part of this whiskey, and that's to say it's okay. It's not great nose. You don't pick up shit, really. It smells like young whiskey with a bunch of smoke. But boy, when it gets on the palate, it surprises. What a monster. You almost think there's like virgin oak in this. Look, it's good. White chocolate, dark chocolate. I mean, it doesn't come in a box, so they don't really give you any like anything like, with a whole bunch more stuff on it to talk about. Okay, so let's say average price super or Hypernova is in that 220, 230 range. And then the Traigh Bhan is the other side of Ardbeg here. Would I pay another, let's go $300 Traigh Bhan, $225 Hypernova. I think for total enjoyment purposes, I'd lead Traigh Bhan. But if you just want the monster whiskey, Hypernova is better. Look, again, the same mentality about Ardbeg crept into my mind about this as it does with others, as we were discussing earlier in the program, right? We were talking about things like, these gimmicky, these overly marketed. I don't want to say gimmicky. I'm going to stop saying that. What I'm going to say is these overly marketed, less than stellar limited releases of their Ardbeg Day stuff, right? The stuff that gives us pause for Ardbeg, and then combine that with the price. Look, the Hypernova is exactly what it should be. It's nothing more, nothing less. It's exactly what it should be. It's maybe slightly more, slightly better. If I got pushed, it's slightly better than I expected. It's not as complex as the Supernovas. I like it. I do. I like Ardbeg and I like this whiskey. I don't think I need another bottle of it. And I don't think I'm going to go hunt another bottle of it. And that's just because, like, look, it's so much of an event. It's just so much of an event. The Traigh Bhan is a journey. This is an event. I don't think this is going to get that much more complex. I don't think there's going to be that much more nuance to this whiskey. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm, below the neck here. I don't regret it. It's fun. It's pretty good for what it should, for what they're trying to do. I mean, I don't think that they dropped the ball here. So I'm kind of, I'll do a full review. I think next in 2023, I think I will do a comparison one-on-one review with the Corey Vrecken, because I think the Corey Vrecken, which I think I once described as like my tongue being assaulted by a swarm of hornets. Yeah, this is like the same thing, only the hornets had eaten Carolina Reaper hot peppers, right? It's got, this is crazy whiskey. I think I mentioned on the last show, like, I definitely want to get some samples out of this to people. So I think I just saw somebody mention the words sample. I think, figure out a way to Patreon this or something. Patreon supporters. This is the type of whiskey that's like perfect for a sample, right? Because there's no like, it's not something that's like subtle nuance, like, oh, maybe you'll like it, like, digging it. Like, this is just one of those straight up, this is a monster peat bomb of epic proportions. Either you're going to want a bottle of this, or you're not. This is not much middle ground with this. There's a nice coffee note coming in on this, man. Okay. 2 hours, 15 minutes. Wow, shit. Should I keep going? Should I do another dram or should we wrap here? Oof. I'm on the fence. By the way, I do appreciate everybody hanging out and the support. If you haven't, subscribed, I'd love you to, of course, and smash the like button. Other ways to support as well. Feel free. I'm wondering if I should do one more dram. I don't know. We'll see. Let me actually go get myself a water refill, and then we'll figure this out. So, just 1 second. All right. Is that what he just said? I might have to hold you to that. I may be out in LA pretty soon, so I'll confirm. I'll go by Cohen's house and confirm that this is true. Oh shit, that's good. All right. Daniel says new dram. Driven fun, keep doing it. Yeah. The question would become, where do I go from here? My palate is pretty shot, probably. I mean, this has been a lot of peat. What could we do that would... I mean, I suppose we could do an Octomore. Should I pour an Octomore? Hit me up in some... Show some love for that, and maybe I could pour an Octomore, and we could do a little side-by-side or something. I don't know. Homie, I have polished off that cartridge. Oh man, you guys are funny. You guys did some skiing in July. Is that what we're talking about here? What time is it, anyways? Yeah, I'm just Octomore would be the perfect comparison. I suppose it would, right? Well, yeah, why not? The question becomes, what Octomore? That's not a bad idea either. Okay. Octomore or Laphroaig Laphroaig Batch 15 cask strength to compare against the Hypernova. If you feel strongly, send a message, send, I don't know, super chats, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do to make your case and support the program here is fine by me. I will give you guys a few seconds. In the meantime, I'm gonna drink some water. As Quig always says, it's important to stay hydrated. He's not lying about that. I definitely have the Laphroaig cast strength ready. I have a Laphroaig cast strength batch 4 up there too. Holy shit. That's from 2012. No, we're not going to do that one. Let me see what Octomores I got. We got the 10-year-old batch 2. Is that what this one is? Yeah, this one's not going to be... I'll find the peatiest one. This one's 167, so that's not going to cut it. This is a 6.1, also 167. That's not going to cut it. We got 10.2, 96. Come on now. 9.2, 156. Okay, now we're talking. Let's put that one out. We got the 10 edition 4, 208. Okay, we got that one maybe. Let's do okay. All right. So the challenge here, the question is what goes up against the Hypernova? The Laphroaig 10 cask strength batch 15, 56.5%, or the Octomore Diabolus 10-year. So this is also a 10-year. 208 ppm. So this is 38 more than our 54.3%, higher ABV, and a higher ppm than the Hypernova. Should we test out the peatiness? I love how Brooke Lottie is just like, yeah, unchill filtered natural color. We'll put it on everything because that's how we roll. Vote. We got 13 folks in. Vote. Let me know which way to go. I will get some more Hypernova in the glass. Oh, yeah, we can make a glass. That's the golden question. I would argue probably not. Octomore is twice the price of Laphroaig. He says, Octomore is more comparable to others tonight. Go Laphroaig. Drink Octomore. All right. Anybody else want to stake their claim in this comparison of the peatiest whiskeys that we can find? Give it like another minute and then I'll pour. Whew. These will be the last ones though, I think. And I hit the limit. I guarantee you that the nose on this Laphroaig is more intense. I guarantee it. Let's see. Shampoo bottle. All right, let's see here. Oh man, Laphroaig. Comparable. All right. Chris S., what's up, Quad Cities? All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Well, I used to do every Tuesday. Now it's going to be a little more random. It won't be as random as just like it was tonight, where I put it up 45 minutes beforehand. But if you're subscribed, just keep an eye out. I'll try and post a couple days in advance going forward, and that's probably going to be the format going into next year. I think the weekly Tasty Tuesday thing is going to be off the table for a while. Shampoo, what's that? Mr. White. All right. Octo it is. So here we go. So here's the question that we're going to try and answer tonight with these two whiskeys. I have in one glass the Ardbeg Hypernova, which is 170 parts per million, phenols per million of peat, non-age statement 51%. In the other glass, we have a 10-year-old 208 ppm Octomore 10 unchilled natural 54%. Higher ABV, higher peat. Should be more intense, right? Because I should be able to tell. We're going to see if that's the case. I just want to make sure this doesn't have any funky cask aging to it or something like that, and it doesn't give me an indication that it does. Some of the other ones do. This one must be just straight up ex-bourbon. So put the old Freugy back on the shelf, and we will dive in. So, Ardbeg Hypernova, Octomore 10. Look at the color difference here. Both natural colors. This is the 10-year Octo. Does Telex do anything new now? I do not know. I haven't talked to Telex in quite a while, actually. He's probably still kind of just laying low. Okay. Again, the Ardbeg. I'm going to just do we're going for just sheer intensity here. The Ardbeg is smokier and raw, much more of a raw elemental whiskey. This 10-year-old Octomore is kind of more toffeed, honey, bourbon cask. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go with the Octomore first. %. Holy shit. Yeah, this Octo is so intense on the palate. Even at 10 years. Holy cow, that is intense. Just assault on the palate. Absolute assault. Absolute assault on the palate. Rich for what it is. It's got a little bit more cask, a little more depth than the Hypernova. Okay. Hypernova is much younger smelling. Again, I mean, this is a 10-year-old Octomore, so here we go. We're just going for intensity. Oh my God. God damn, these are intense whiskeys. I wanted to say the Octo, but now I'm... Oh, man. They're pretty close. The only way to really do this is to go back and do a sip. Now I'm going to start with Hypernova. I think the Ardbeg is smokier, but I don't know that it's peatier on the palate. I normally do add water. I've just not been for this. Just, I always add water. I'm a big advocate of adding water. Holy shit. Okay. I'm going to go back to the Octo. Now, this Octomore, as I said, 208 ppm. So in theory, 38 parts per million more peat. I'm not noticing a huge difference. I think the Octomore has much more, obviously it has more age and more cask influence. It's a more rounded whiskey. It's a better whiskey. Insofar as the full totality of the experience here, but the Hypernova I think is smokier. I think there's more smoke on the Ardbeg, despite the lower peat ppm, but there's a difference between peat and smoke. The peatiness on the palate, in terms of just the raw intensity, is about the same, maybe just a little bit more to the Octomore, but it's hard to say. It's negligible. But the Ardbeg is smokier. So, the clever wording that they use on here about, the smokiest dram in the world, not the peatiest dram, right? A lot of times people conflate peat and smoke. If you've ever had an Aaron Macramore in your life, you would know. There's not much smoke on many of those, but they're peaty as hell. Okay, one more sip to determine the winner. What is the more peaty whiskey? Blah, blah, blah. Hypernova. Man. Both of these will clear out your nose. I think it's unequivocal to me that the Hypernova is a smokier whiskey. Those roasted coffee. Look, I'm going to just say it kind of as I said it the other week. This is a borderline 90 out of 100. Borderline for me, 4 out of 5. It's in the 375 mark right now just because of the price. But I think the Hypernova is pretty good. I didn't expect much more from it. And it's delivered on that, if not given a bit more. Okay, Octo. Oh my God. I gotta try having this for breakfast sometime. It really wakes you up. Okay. I got to give the peatiness in terms of the sheer palate intensities going to the Octomore. So, yeah. In this case, I think the Octomore 10-year-old edition. Which edition is this? 4 or 5? Limited edition 10 Diagolus at the higher ABV and the 208 ppm, more intense on the palate. The Hypernova smokier, still very intense at 51% and non-age statement, but not quite. That's the best I can do. Yeah, that Octomore is just ridiculous. %. One of my least charitable reviews I ever did earlier in my days, and I think this is one I regret, was Aaron Macramore. I gave it a 2 something. I was like, there's just no smoke to this. It was supposed to be a heavily peated whiskey. It's not. I think I totally missed the mark on that. I have went back and watched most of my reviews, and I think for the most part, I agree with everything I've said. I think that there, which is quite frankly amazing. I wonder if many reviewers have the guts, let alone the transparency to do that. It would be cool if they did. I just think that like there's the flavor on that one. I think the peat intensity, the intensity that the peatiness brought to that whiskey was much more interesting than I was willing to give credit to, because I was expecting it to just be so smoky, and I was applying, my thoughts of what a smoky whiskey was to it. I think that was a mistake, and so I do regret that. And I think in hindsight, I'll probably re-review that whiskey sometime and talk about that. But, while they're closely linked, they're not the same. But yeah, just in terms of raw intensity, I think this Octomore 10 is still the most intense whiskey that I've had. And I think the Hypernova is right behind it. All right, let me catch up on the chat here quick. Oh, the Balcones brimstone? Smoke and peat can also come from wood maturation differences. I agree. But in Scotch malts, peat equals smoke. I'm not so sure. You might be right, and I think I would take a little convincing on that, but I'm open to it. I think the thing that I just mentioned about Aaron Macramore is an example of a whiskey that I think was not very smoky, but heavily peated insofar as the influence on the palate. Now, I do agree that there can be virgin oak influence can kind of taste that way, but I'm not sure I agree with you, Coates, but I could be convinced. Not really enough new charred oak and Scotch to get smoke in there like bourbon. Yeah, totally. I agree with you there. User is putting ketchup on the chat. I'm not sure what you mean. What did I do? I don't know what I did. Let me get back up here just a little bit. Looks like there was a good chat. If I'm honest, from a production standpoint, there's no difference. Smoke is all from peat, and the only way peat gets there is smoke. Yeah. Right. But again, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever had an Aaron Macramore before? I would be curious if you... I think your point is right. I think this is actually a really important point that Jason's making. It's about how it's delivered in the flavor, right? Like when you talk about how something tastes, if you say it tastes more peaty than smoky, you're talking more about like how it lands on a flavor profile, not necessarily about like its content per se, right? If that makes sense, like not like the steps it took to get there, but like what's delivered in the final product, right? Because in theory, like you could, again, and I think Aaron Macramore is an interesting example of this. I don't find Aaron Macramore to be very smoky, but I find it to be very peaty. Lagavulin, because of their stills, I find to be more smoky than peaty in terms of its flavor, right? They have fat stills, you know the story. The more stuff is going up through the line arm, and so on and so forth. Like it's not as refined, right? So like your still size and your still construction and the direction of your line arm could play a role in that theoretically. Would you agree with that? I think Lagavulin 16 punches above its weight in smokiness versus peatiness, whereas I don't think that if you measured the peatiness of the barley, it would be anywhere higher than your 50 ppm, 40 ppm Ardbeg or Laphroaig. Whereas I think that it's profile in terms of its taste comes off as much smokier. Again, it could be in the eye of the beholder, right? I do agree there's a level of subjectivity, but I'd be curious if you think like that part of it, outside of just like the casks, right, or cask influence, could play a role, right? The type of stills you have. Some has oilier still, some has more wood smoke, but it's all smoke. There's a difference in the U.S., not necessarily Scotch. To me, peat, variation on dirt or soil. It's possible too, yeah. Not really enough new charcoal. Oh, yeah, we saw that. Okay. Extra smokiness can also be caused by dampness in the peat too, even if the phenols are okay. Admiral user, you said you needed to. See what you did there, brother. I do too. This is really a semantic argument. We're saying the same thing differently. Maybe we are. I'm not sure. I might have lost the thread a little bit, but fair. Who that's supposedly to be closely controlled? No, it's the same understanding. Yeah, exactly. There's different chemicals that come through in burning peat. Some of which are detectable on the nose and the palate, still others on both, so you get these different experiences. But it's all still peat smoke. Right. That I agree. Smoke is phenols measured in peat smoke radiations to me. Yeah, so the different. I think peat taste and smoke taste two different things, is Colin. Okay. Yeah, right. I'm not sure I disagree with anything anybody's saying here. I think back to Jason Coates' point, there's a technical like answer, and there's also the much more subjective answer, I guess. I don't think that many people would argue that our Aaron Octomore is a smoky whiskey. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that would be a fun thing to do blind tasting of. But if we were able to get them with whatever their measurements of ppm are in terms of the amount of peat that goes into the barley or whatever, and compare it to something, or like bring up something comparable, which we, may have a more smoky profile, like that, like may or may not be a way to kind of taste the difference. But I do agree with Jason's point that like there's no from a like base level, right? Like you're not getting a whiskey there's no smoked whiskey, is particularly in Scotch, that like hasn't there's a correlation between the amount of peat and the amount of smoke, right? That's one way to put it. What's up, Vancouver? How you doing, Indy? Yeah, my point is that it's all still smoke. It may have fair. Yeah. Okay. Peat contains like dirt soil. Yeah, while smoke can measure phenolic impact on the palate. Okay. Yeah, please share it. I mean, I would love to see it. I mean, I think that I follow the logic. Like the logic makes a lot of sense. Cheers, man. James Morgan holding it down over there in London, man. It's great to see you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have much more to say about it, and that's not a way to like say that we shouldn't talk about it. I feel free to continue the conversation. I think, yeah, I think where I'm landing is there is a measurable flavor difference depending on factors outside of the amount of peat used to smoke. Peat smoke used to dry the barley, which in turn is what gives you peat and smoke flavor, right? Lagavulin is a case where heavier oils and stuff can impart more the smoky side of the equation. Whereas things like maybe Aaron and its Octomore will have less of a smoky impact because of just the nature of ancillary, tertiary, whatever you want to call it, impacts on the whiskey. Size of the distills, shape of the stills, type of cask maturation, age, whatever. Cool. Okay, y'all. So this was a lot of fun. It was cool to hang out at Impromptu tonight. Here in Chicago, it's going on 8 o'clock, which means I'm probably a little late for dinner, which I should go do now. But we got to drink some good whiskeys. I really appreciate everybody hanging out. If you haven't yet and you want to smash that subscribe, do it. I am going to have one, if not two more rando non-singular whiskey reviews coming out this year, because I'm feeling a little bit inspired to do it. There's the link. Thank you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do and smash that like on your way out, man. It's been cool to hang out with everybody. Just to let everybody know, if you didn't see it, there's my top five whiskey of 2022 video is up. Post on Monday. Feel free to check it out. Would love to hear feedback. And appreciate you all very much. I hope you guys enjoyed this long live stream. I sure did. And with that, I will see you next time. Slán Siobhá. Stay safe, be well, friends. Peace.